Rider Nation feeling pretty good when we were 6-1, right? But after last week's game against Edmonton, where the D-line went off for 8 sacks, but we only won by 3 points, has some people, including myself, concerned. Maybe concerned isn't the right word. I'm just more curious, and we said this after I think we were 4-0. I want to know how we're going to stack up against the league's best. We played Calgary, and Calgary played well. And, they beat us. They had the perfect game plan for what we do, and they were managed to exploit it. So how are we going to do against a very good Montreal Alouette team? Well coached by Jason Moss and the best defensive coordinator in the CFL, Noel Thorpe. He's been given head coaches and defenses or offenses fits for years. The Riders have played well, but even Trevor Harris admitted that they have to find ways to finish off teams. And I'm not saying that they're going to get so far up on Montreal that they're going to have to finish. I'm thinking it's going to be a close game, but even he knows you can't always leave the door open. This should be, and probably will be, the Riders' toughest test of the season. As I mentioned, I think the Stamps exposed exactly what to do to beat the Riders. And if that's the playbook, how is Montreal going to do this? Just run that ball and then exploit the zone? Now we wait. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Sports Cage. It's Maz in for Barney, back from vacation. And I'm not sure if many of you ever go on vacation with family. But I spent the past couple of weeks with 15 family members in a remote location. And I don't know if you've ever done that, and I don't know if I can suggest that. Still processing. Mentally taking it all in. It was a lot. Family's great, right? Small doses, certain times. 15 family members, couple weeks. Hey, and I'm not saying I'm a treat either. A lot to unpack here. If you're listening on 620 CKRM, we appreciate it. If you're on the 620 CKRM app, that means you can get us anywhere. If you're watching on our socials, we love it. On Twitter, follow us at SportsCage. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. Put a comment in the chat. We'll pull it up on the screen. Want to be taking calls? We can do that too. Colson and Curtis, the double C's. We have the Curtis half of the double C's today running the board. Maybe at 1-866-767-0620, we go phones. Who knows? Got a lot to say. Maybe you're headed out on one of these family vacations this long weekend. Oof. Sometimes you just got to know when to walk away or hop in the rental car and drive to Target. Go to Dunkin' Donuts and just, take a little time for yourself. Come back refreshed. Sports Cage on Fridays is for Nelson Homes, supplying home packages and RTMs for over 65 years. If you're not brave enough to call or you're just not feeling it, but you want to get in on the show, Prairie Land Rentals text line is always there at 306-936-6262. We're Rider fans. Yes, we want to win. And listening to the show earlier this week with Barney, we still complain when we do, right? That's who we are. The depth chart is out for tomorrow's game in Montreal, and the news isn't good for Sam Emilus. He's been moved to the 6-game injured list. He is, to me, him and Keyshawn Johnson are sort of, would you say the security blankets or the safety blankets for Trevor Harris in this offense? Not that the others aren't earning the trust, but those two seem to be the guys when the plays are needed. So now he goes to the 6th game. Next man up. Is that going to be Joe Robustelli? The thing about Emilus, not only a key cog in the receiving corps, Canadian. That is that passport. Some of the other changes for tomorrow include Peyton Collins in. Kosi Anyeka in. Zach Fry in. Mitch Picton back in. And Aaron Patrick in. Which means coming off the roster, Emilus, as mentioned, Aubrey Miller Jr., Lake Corte Moore, Darius Washington, and Noah Zur. As far as we know, if those are like the Collins, who lost his starting job because of injury, if that's okay, now he's healthy, he's back in. I think some of these other moves would have to be, we think, that the better player is playing. That's as far as we know right now. The game tomorrow is also going to feature the return of Sean Lemon for the Alouettes. Suspended for the last year and a half. And if you ask Sean Lemon, he's done talking about it. He's got nothing to say. Just wants to play football. Charleston Hughes is coming up on the show in the next 10 minutes. If there's 9 teams with about 50 guys on a roster on each team, that's 450 guys. Are you telling me that Sean Lemon is the only guy to ever gamble on the CFL? Get caught, yes. But he's the only one. It would have to be no. Here's a hot take that you probably won't like. I honestly don't care about Sean Lemon gambling on the CFL. Or a lot of players. If you're betting on your own team to win, isn't that what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to, if you walk into a casino, it's you against the house, right? You're betting on yourself to win, and you want to win. You're going to do everything you can in your power. Does the punishment fit the crime? I don't know. People talk about the integrity of the league. There he is right there. How are you?
How's it going, buddy?
Curtis, back in action. Good. Have you ever been on a vacation with 15 family members?
No, I have not.
Okay. It's a lot.
Sounds like it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So my hot take, I don't care that Sean Lemon gambled on the CFL. What was it, $70? Oh, the integrity of the league. Listen, there's a bunch of stuff if we want to bring into the integrity of the league, but this, I'm like, whatever, let him play.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you always kind of run into the problem when people are betting on the other team and they're throwing the game, and that's where things get pretty dicey. But yeah, the guy served his suspension, probably learned his lesson, probably not going to be placing any more bets. So just one of those things, but kind of a key piece to that Montreal squad. So I'm sure he's happy to be playing again.
Here's where it becomes very CFL-y, as opposed to Major League Baseball, where the money is exponentially bigger. Look at Shohei Ohtani and all the money he's gambled. Well, you're that rich, you make one of your flunkies be the guy that places the bets. So when it's time for somebody to go to jail, it's your personal assistant, the guy that places those bets. And apparently he's gone into hiding. No one's seen him since March. The Nevada State Gambling Commission, the Nevada court system, they can't find this guy. That's the difference in money. Shohei bets, but somebody else actually does it and pays the price when he gets caught. Sean Lemon placed this, and we're talking in the Ohtani, I think, what was it, $40 million? And Sean Lemon placed a $70 bet that they can, that's the evidence they tracked down, and there's probably more. So he's back tomorrow too. And the Alouettes defense was already good. Even if it's an aging Sean Lemon, I still think he makes them better. That's a whole other wrinkle that I think the Riders are going to need to take account of.
All I'm hearing is Sean Lemon's going to keep doing it, but he's smart enough to get a fall guy.
Curtis, at somewhere along the way, we've all been a fall guy in a different situation. Sometimes it's sports gambling. Sometimes it's in careers. Sometimes it's you and your buddies. Hey, who was going to be the guy to try and use the fake ID to go buy beer when you were underage? Somebody was always gutsy enough to try and take that leap, right?
True. You know what? I was never that person to try with the old fake ID.
Me neither. I looked like such a 14-year-old kid until I was 35. There was no chance.
Speaking of IDs, though, I actually had like an awakening moment the other day. I did go to the liquor store, and I got ID'd, and at that moment, I was kind of actually happy that I was ID'd, because when you start to get a little bit older and the life in your eyes slowly fades away, you notice that you don't get ID'd as much. So when you do, you're like, oh, I'm actually kind of happy. It's like, of course I'll pull it out. Here you go. And I'm not even that old looking, but like I guess I'm getting there, because I had my 27th birthday the other week, and that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, I'm officially in my late 20s. 30 is around the corner. So
that took a dark turn when you talk about the light fading from your eyes. Can I ask you what your order was at the liquor store? Because speaking of the family vacation with 15 members, I made a lot of trips to liquor stores. Just know to ease the pain or to bridge the gap, whatever it needed to be. I was driving to liquor stores all over Hawaii trying to find knockoff Prosecco that was half the price.
Yeah, you could take a guess. I'll let you know if you get it right.
I would start with Pilsner, but then when you talked about the light fading from your eyes, who knows? Maybe you were drinking just straight vodka on the rocks until
No.
blacked out in front
beer.
of the TV.
It was beer. It was a 12-pack. That's my hint.
A 12-pack. I said pill.
Not Pilsner. But I believe it is brewed in Canada, though.
016?
No. Not a Saskatchewan beer.
No. I'd mentioned Charleston Hughes coming up on the show in a couple of minutes. We haven't talked to Charleston in over a month. I want to know what he's been doing on his summer vacation. And I want to know, I said to Charles, if the Stamps would have won last night in Ottawa without Vernon Adams, I texted him this earlier today, that we were going to phone the Calgary Stampeder office and try and get John Huffnagel on the phone and apologize for our preseason prediction of them being the worst team in the West Division. But they didn't, and Charleston said he never would.
They're doing pretty good.
So we'll see. Yeah. Also on the show today, Matt Young from CTV is going to join us. If you follow Matt on socials, he's the guy that puts up the ticket map. You'll always know how many tickets are left for the Rider game, even the game in Montreal tomorrow night, with concerts, sporting events. He's the guy that does the ticket map thing. I would like to really eat. He's a play-by-play voice of the Saskatoon Hilltops. Big sports fan. Excited to have him on the show. We'll do that just after 4. Farhan Lalji in a little over an hour's time. He's in Edmonton. And voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, is set to join us from Montreal as well. Although I saw furiously as I was chit-chatting here, a bunch of Teams messages come in, and I don't know if that is a good thing
or a bad thing. Yeah, nothing
it's
to
good.
worry
We're good.
about. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, your season's already fallen apart, and you're only the first week into training camp because this is bad news. Darian Durant, if you're listening, you probably already have your head down because Micah Parsons apparently has requested a trade from Jerry World because they will not give him a contract extension. It's not a good day to be a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Did you just say Jerry World?
Yeah, Jerry Jones, Jerry World. Everybody calls it Jerry World. Yeah.
You know what? I've never actually heard that before, but I kind of like that.
You've never heard Jerry World?
No.
Oh, no, it's Jerry Island. Jerry's the dictator that runs the island. It's Jerry's crazy world.
When you say Jerry World, it makes it seem like a fun amusement park. Like, I almost kind of want to go to Jerry World. How do I go to Jerry World?
If we had a chance to talk to Micah Parsons, he's probably not buying a season pass to Jerry World. He wants out of Jerry World. ASAP. All right, let's take our first break on the show. When we return, CFL. If he's not a Hall of Famer yet, why isn't he? We can maybe ask him about that, Al. Former Saskatchewan Rough Rider and Calgary Stampeder and all-time sack leader, depending if we changed his Wikipedia. Charleston Hughes will join us. As always, if you want to be part of the show, Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage continues next on 620 CKRM. Hey, don't forget when the Riders play, get the KFC Game Day special, the Big Crunch for just $4.95, and the Big Crunch Combo for $7.95 at participating KFC locations. Kevin on the text line said, one mother-in-law is too much, never mind 15 family members. It's Maz in for Barney today, fresh from vacation. It was a cut away for a while. There was 15 of us, family members, on vacation. And at times, it was challenging. Would be. It's funny. My in-laws, my mother-in-law is the savior of the family. Them, I got no problem. It was the extended. There was just a lot. Just a lot going on. Yeah. Still married when we got back, which is great. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline and bring him in. He's Charleston Hughes. We got to find out how his summer vacation's going. And have you ever been, Charleston, on vacation with 14 other Hugheses going someplace?
I would have thought I would have been invited to the one that just happened, but somebody just left me here on this island.
Oh, Charleston, trust me, to top off everything else that happened, Tuesday, we were in Hawaii. So Tuesday, there's that tsunami warning. So we're grabbing anything and everything we can as fast as we possibly can to get out of the house to drive to higher ground. and we end up in a CVS parking lot for about 5 hours. Now, I don't know about you, but a CVS parking lot is not exactly the best place in the world to meet quality people, right? Am I wrong?
No. Definitely, that is the last place I want to be at, is a CVS parking lot.
I will take my chances with a natural disaster known as a tsunami than hang out in a CVS parking lot in somewhere Hialeah in yeah. So how you been? How's your summer vacation been so far?
I've been good, man. Texas has treated me nice. The weather is always 95 plus. I mean, it's been good. I mean, there was a lot of flooding that happened down here, but, prayers out to the family and people who lost a lot, during those floods. But the thing is it's definitely been nice weather for the most part.
Okay, no, that's good. Do you got any trips planned for the rest of summer? You and the kids, you road tripping anywhere? Like, what's on the Charleston Hughes agenda?
I am road tripping to SeaWorld in San Antonio in probably less than 7 days.
Whoa. Now, SeaWorld, one of the many places that comes under...
Still there?
I've only been to SeaWorld in Orlando back before the world was woke and you could have animals in captivity and nobody cared. You wanted to get splashed by Shamu. That's what you paid for. So I was just going to ask you, do they still have all that stuff, or has the woke culture wrecked a lot of what SeaWorld was?
No, I think SeaWorld's still there, man. I heard Lil Jon been in the East Side Boys been there performing for people, so why wouldn't I go there? To the window, to the wall.
Little John playing at SeaWorld would be like Charleston Hughes playing in the UFL to be like, what's happening? Call my agent. Why are we here? All right.
Exactly. Why is he there?
All right. One thing that you don't have to do today, and I said we would do it live on the air. Had the Calgary Stampeders won last night without Vernon Adams, we were going to try and call the Stampeder head office, see if Huff would take our call, and we were going to apologize for giving him basically an F in the preseason or the rankings going into the season, because we were really wrong about his team. But it's funny, how special is big play VA to that team? Because without Vernon Adams last night, that Calgary Stampeder team, not exactly looking like they're a threat to anybody.
Well, it's hard, man. The thing is as a backup, that is probably one of the most hardest positions on a backup quarterback, should I say.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the hardest positions on the field, because not only are you limited in reps at practice, which that goes to the coaching staff too. You got to be able to make sure that guy's still prepared, just like the starting quarterback. But you have to get out there and perform as a starting quarterback every single time. And your play calls might not be the same play calls as the starting quarterback. So it's hard, man, because a coach doesn't always trust the starting quarterback. You got to call plays to what that backup quarterback knows. So it is hard on the coach too. But at the same time, it's about readiness. You got to be ready to play. Yeah. They got to be ready for him to play. So it shouldn't be a fall off no matter what.
Not that maybe you encountered this a ton in your playing career, but as a defender and on a defense with pride, you know your starting quarterback's out. How much extra pressure does that put on you and your fellow teammates that the defense has really got to step up and have a good game?
Man, that's what it leans on everybody, man. You're happy for them and you're happy for the opportunity, but it's always next man up. That's part of the game. I know every teammate that I've played with in the past, we were afraid to have our backups get on the field because we were so deep in, athleticism and play, and, rookies and backup players are foaming at the mouth to get on the field. Well, when your number's called and your opportunity's called, if VA never got signed to that team, he's the starting quarterback. So they have to perform as he's a starting quarterback. So you just got to be ready, man. That's all to it. Coaches have to be ready for you and call the plays that need to be called. But also VA, he's balling, man. There ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. He is probably the best quarterback in the league right now. and it's probably up for debate between him and Bo Levi. But as far as making all the right throws, making all the right plays, executing on every single call that's put in his way, I mean, he's doing that.
I think Ottawa winning last night doesn't solve Ottawa's problems. I think they caught the Stampeders. Well, forget it. Not only were the Stampeders missing their starting quarterback, they were missing 4 other starters on offense. So the Ottawa Red Blacks caught the Stamps at the right time, and they took advantage of their opportunities. But I don't think Ottawa's out of the woods. The game tonight, Toronto-Winnipeg, head scratchers. If you're Ryan Dinwiddie, you looked so good last week against Winnipeg. Everything worked. I'd be tearing the paint off the walls going, guys, why can't we play like this all the time? And if you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you're kind of seeing some of the cracks creep in. Tonight, it's a bit of a rematch. What have you seen from these teams so far this season? What do you think?
I don't know, man. Winnipeg is inconsistent. They're like super inconsistent right now. And you don't know whether it's due to age because they're more of an older team and they've been together for a long time, and really no serious personnel changes have really been made over there. So the thing is they're not functioning. They don't have that spark that they used to have, I guess you could say. Usually they're a fast-paced type of team, and they're moving pretty quick. And when they're on, Caleros is on, the team is, function at a high level, but you just don't really see that right now. You see flashes, but you don't see consistency. So for a team like Toronto, which is really a bottom-of-the-barrel team right now, they shouldn't be losing to them. But the thing is, when Toronto's at their best, and Ryan Dinwiddie is a good offensive-minded guy, but the thing is he's trying to make the best of what he has, as a starting lineup and fresh, new, young players, young team. So they're in rebuild mode, and it's going to take them a lot to try to beat Winnipeg twice. It's hard beating a team twice.
Everybody in the CFL. If we could steal your phone, I don't care about anything else. I just want to see text messages from CFL players. I am not opening any other app. The Argonauts extended Chad Kelly on the 6-game injured list. He was close to coming back, needs a little more time. The team's saying all the right things. You can be political and you don't have to answer this or whatever, but something doesn't smell right in the kitchen here on this Chad Kelly situation being extended again on the 6th game.
They need him, man. They need him on that team. I mean, you can only rely on their starting quarterback so much right now. They're probably looking for a quarterback, so they're keeping him fresh. And I know he ended the year with an injury, or he was injured last time he was on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, he got a lot of issues going on right now. So
sure.
Hopefully he can get back to the field and get it all figured out.
Well, because the reason why I ask is because he was close to coming back. Everybody thought he's going to be back around weeks 9 or 10. And then all of a sudden, change of plans. He's back on the 6th game. I'm like, well, is that the team's doing or is that his doing? And that's where I'm asking you, maybe you've heard something to be like, this doesn't, for a guy that was set to come back, this just doesn't seem like what the narrative
has been
since the start of the year.
I don't know, man. It's just, he got a weird situation going on right now, and it's best to just let him figure that out with his team.
All right.
Can I say something about him? Nah, I don't know anything about that dude. I don't even know him. I haven't said 2 words to him. But the thing is he's in the league. He's signed.
He is. Tomorrow, the Hamilton Ticats are in Edmonton to take on the Elks. Last week, I thought, okay, Hamilton, you're a little inconsistent, but you're good at home. Go win one on the road in BC. And then I would okay. I turned off the game when BC was winning, and I shouldn't have, because we missed it all when we missed the last 6 or 7 minutes, because Bo Levi Mitchell is Bo Levi Mitchell of old. Hamilton wins. Is Hamilton legit? Are they a legitimate contender that you could put them in the top tier of the league, Charleston?
I already put them in the top tier, at the very beginning of the year, right? I said they were a good team. I have a belief that Bo Levi is coming to the coming to his near end, as he's hitting accolades with every pass, every yard. He's moving up the ranks as one of the greatest quarterbacks that this league has ever seen, and just playing through generations right now. I've been that player that's played through generation after generation, and after a while, it starts to wear on you. Do I think he's finished playing? I think Bo can play as long as he wants at this level because he's playing good, and they're keeping him standing up for the most part.
Yeah.
So the thing is he just got to continue to be consistent, throw good balls, make good passes, and dominate the East, and they'll be there. They just got to, like you said, they got to find some consistency. They've been consistent for the most part, but it's just about maintaining that and just keep going. Staying away from that injury bug, man. That's the really thing that's a killer, through this long season like that is, injury after injury, and only the strong teams survive.
On Hamilton's go-ahead touchdown, because there was a lot of criticism online that was one of the worst defensive play calls in football, that basically nobody had covered the receiver going in. As an ex-player, if you thought a call sucked, to be like, we're not in this, would you jump offside to try and kill the play, to try and maybe have somebody on the sideline look at it? Because when you watch the replay again and again and again, it's almost like they weren't trying. The play call was that bad.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you got to roll with the punches, man. You got to run what's called. You can try to trump it all you want and be mad about the call. But you got to run what's called. I mean, the coaches who makes that decision, right? He's put in a position where he has to call a game to the best of his knowledge, and the players have to run that play to the best of their knowledge. And if it ain't the right play, it's a bad call, you talk about it afterwards into the locker room and hope that your coach take full responsibility, and accountability, for making a bad call. I've been a part of teams where we thought bad calls were made by coaches, and every coach that I've had that was a really, really good coach, they took accountability and said, I probably could have called a better call right there. So I got respect for coaches who can do that and accept that type of accountability.
When you're on the goal line like that, let's say you're the defensive coordinator, and obviously you're trying to keep them away from getting the lead. In a situation like that, do you just play man because everything's going to be within the 5-yard cushion, and if you can disrupt it for even a half second or a second, like a body on a body, so nobody gets a free ride?
I mean, I've watched so much football in the CFL, from a D coordinator, and I have a D coordinator eye, that it's not a secret that every single defensive coordinator in the entire CFL, for the most part, with inside, I would say, the 15-yard line, calls 0 on every single down. They run man coverage, 0 coverage every single time when they're inside the 15-yard line, 10-yard line. You can expect that everybody's going to be flat top and it's going to be a 0 call, and your quarterback has to make a quick decision to get the ball out of his hand. Now, if you deviate from that and call zone in a 20-yard end zone, I mean, you might as well strike up the band because there's too much space to cover and play zone.
Yeah. Good on Hamilton for coming back and winning. It showed a lot of character. All right, so last week, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I'm sure 8 sacks, that's kind of your territory. You love that. You kind of love seeing those glory stats. But Rider Nation, Charleston Hughes joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We only won by 3, and Cody Fajardo almost led the comeback. Is that too close for comfort for you? When you're dominated, when the D line is dominating by that much, a win's a win, and you're going to take it. And it wasn't necessarily as close, but now we're criticizing our wins, Charleston. Are we getting too cocky in Rider Nation?
No, man, a win is a win, man. You take it how it come. I mean, you played good enough to win the game. That's all that matters. Whether you dominated a team or not, that don't really matter, because for one thing is for sure, although Edmonton might be somewhat on an off team right now because they're still trying to figure out their identity as a football team. With Cody Fajardo in there, they're starting to figure it out. So the thing is you got guys that are rallying behind him. As long as he continues to play good, Edmonton's going to progressively get better after this game. As long as Cody Fajardo is in that game, which I believe, I've been teammates with Cody. Man, he is probably one of the most humble guys I've ever played with, who just rolls with the punches, says put me out there and do what I got to do to try to win games and perform my best. I like that. And guys are going to rally behind that. Now, as far as Saskatchewan goes, man, that was a defensive domination up front. I love to see that. I love to see pass rush. I love to see moves. I love to see guys getting to the quarterback and closing out. I'm not a big fan of hurries anyways, because to me, a hurry is just a missed opportunity to get a sack. So I don't grade a defensive lineman on a hurry, because a hurry is just a missed opportunity to me. So I like to grade guys on getting there, finishing the play, and then celebrate afterwards.
Charleston Hughes, I think to sum that up, a hurry is a participation trophy in the world of Charleston Hughes when it comes to CFL football. Nothing more, nothing.
I do not like that stat. I never looked at it and said, oh, I'm leading the league in hurries. Like, no, that don't mean nothing to me. That just means I almost got there. So I need to get there, because if I got 26 hurries, how many of those hurries should be sacks? What could I have done different to get there and close out? So that's how I process that.
Nice. One of your former teammates, and I have all the respect in the world, I think he was one of the best when he was at the top of his game. There was nobody better. Not only was he vicious as a receiver, he was even more vicious as a blocker. Nick Lewis. And after the game on Saturday, he had talked about how Cody Fajardo could have avoided a bunch of those sacks, but Cody won't throw the ball away because he wants to keep his completion percentage high. Because for quarterbacks and stats, that matters in contracts and stuff like that, that he didn't have to take 8 sacks. You and Nick are boys. I mean, I love Nick. He would have been a great rider. Would have been a great rider. Didn't he marry a woman from Regina?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we could not even on a 1-year Charleston Hughes sweetheart deal could we got. So when Nick Lewis comes out on Twitter, because I respect him, he's been a player, he's been a coach. When he comes out and says that, I'm like, okay. It's not Luke Wilson. He's not doing it just to get the clicks or whatever. Like, this is legitimate CFL football from a player that played the game at the highest level. He played hard. And he's saying, hold on. Elks fans, Cody didn't have to take all those. That's on him.
Oh, man, I don't know if that had 100% something to do with it. What quarterback thinks like that? I mean, I think more or less it has everything to do with Cody Fajardo likes to extend plays. So he likes to extend plays and exhaust every opportunity to try to make a play out of something. When it comes to get rid of the balls, a lot of times when a quarterback is trying to get rid of the ball and throw the ball out of bounds, it's when turnovers happen. So I think that's more of what's wrong, and what happens right there is sometimes, trying to be adamant about throwing the ball away, and you don't throw that ball away, to the best of your ability, and a defensive end is on you and knocks that ball out, which potentially can happen. I mean, you might as well tuck and give up the sack rather than throw the ball and cause a turnover.
Yeah. As a defender on the sidelines, was there anything better than watching Nick Lewis decleat somebody with one of his vicious blocks when he was playing offense?
Man, Nick used to tear people's head off coming down. And I've always told him, like, Nick, if I was ever on the other team, you would never do that to me. Like, I don't even know how people don't see it. Like, he's the biggest receiver on the field, and there's evidence of him doing it on film. Like, so if you get hit by that, you're not a film study guy. You're supposed to be aware of situations like that.
You're a Johnny Manziel. You're watching no film on your iPad, and because they're checking and nobody's watching. Saskatchewan, Montreal tomorrow. Let's start with this. There's 9 teams in the CFL. 50 guys on each team, about 450 players in the league every year. Are you telling me that Sean Lemon is the only guy to ever put a bet on a CFL game?
Allegedly.
I love that. Allegedly. I said this. I don't care. If you bet on yourself and to win, I don't care. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You do it in a casino. To me, do you not think that this was really overblown, like a 2-year suspension? This for a $70 bet, and take her to the league. This is way too much about nothing. Allegedly, apparently.
Yeah, allegedly, man. I mean, they just had to make an example, man. I mean, I know how it is when you're the guy. I don't have the streaky clean background, especially the CFL. I mean, when somebody needs to be making an example out of and to express to the entire league that that's not tolerated, sometimes it just has to be done. So the thing is I'm happy my boy's back in the league. I'm hoping to see great things from him. Run up those sacks, try to catch me if you can, Lemon. I'm top 5. I'm sitting at number 5 all time. Come get me.
All right. So this should be the toughest task.
He's probably the only person that has a chance in the next 30 years.
To catch you. Well, if they counted Hurries, maybe you'd be further ahead. But you don't count those. Saskatchewan, Montreal tomorrow. This should be the toughest test of the season. There's no better defensive coordinator than Noel Thorpe. I'm more curious than anything. Is he going to do what the Stamps did against the Riders a few weeks ago to beat them? Do they have something completely different dialed up? What do you think tomorrow that those Alouettes are going to try and do to stop the Rider offense?
Oh, man, it's going to be a good game, man, especially because, the Alouettes, I know what kind of defense that defense is going to be with Sean Lemon back in the game over there, man, and they're going to be getting to the quarterback. I know they blitz like no other over there. You can intend on a really, really good football game, especially from the Alouettes. It's going to be tight, man. It's going to be a tight game. I wouldn't see the Riders winning by less than 7 points. But I'm still going Riders all the way.
Okay. Do you think that the Riders can run on the Alouettes? Can they run the ball?
With that type of blitzing, no way. No way. It'll come down to passing the ball.
Yeah, but if Harris has to throw the ball 40 times, we've seen in the past, that's a lot. And sooner or later, you put the ball up that many times because Montreal's secondary, they're pretty good. Some of them are ball hawks. And this should be so. I'm more curious than anything because we're a little impatient.
I would be more confident if the Riders had both running backs, but because they're down one of their premier backs and only have really one premier back that got a reputation in this league. I think it's a struggle to try to run the ball.
Yeah, no disrespect to Mario Anderson, but he is not. I was going to say CJ Avery. He's no Deshaun Carey. Like he's not. And that Sam Emilus is out. It's going to be a test. The depth is going to have to come through. I think Trevor Harris is going to be under pressure probably all day, and he's going to have to be on. And you have no idea. And the other thing too is Jason Moss. He can call a pretty good game on offense as well. Because McLeod Bethel-Thompson, I think that game last week where he was McLeod Bethel-Thompson doesn't come off the bench very well. But last week you saw him come in, play the full game. He obviously got all the reps in practice and he looked good. He made the throws he needed to do. And when he is that guy, that's the guy who wins. And I can't expect Jason Moss to not be putting him in a position to execute high percentage plays. Get those guys running.
Yeah, man, and especially because Bethel he's a gunslinger too, man. So he likes to go deep. So he don't got no problem with throwing deep balls. And the thing is when you got a guy like Jason Moss who really likes possession type plays and executing, plays, you just wonder, is Bethel going to do that? Is he going to come out there and just execute and just move the ball, and not take that deep ball? But the thing is, with the Riders, they don't give up a lot of deep balls. So it'll be interesting to see, man, especially if they can.
All right. Charleston Hughes, as always, we appreciate your time. Okay, so let's make plans now. You're going to SeaWorld next week on vacation. And then on the week of the 11th, I'm back doing the show. Let's get you on that week. Not only, first of all, we're going to have to get a SeaWorld recap. I don't even know about Shamu, and I'm not going to Google it either. I'm going to wait for you to come back on and tell us.
Hey,
we'll
man, I'm going to send you pictures standing right next to a whale. I might be riding a whale. I might send you pictures on top of a whale.
Wouldn't that be great? CFL legend Charleston Hughes is Instagram famous because he gets kicked out of SeaWorld for life. You'll get banned for life for trying to ride one of the animals or whatever. But like, no, I had this move in the CFL where I was like surfing on green fake grass at a place called Mosaic. Whatever. And by the way, I didn't do any real surfing in Hawaii. I was too busy driving to liquor stores, trying to keep everybody lubricated and keep everything.
Drinking all of my ties.
No, it's half price Prosecco, the Sam's Club version, because it's $7 instead of 17. You're a CFL pensioner getting Canadian funds. Our dollar doesn't go very far in America. Charleston Hughes, as always, we appreciate it. At Saskatchewan on X, on Twitter. Until next time, my friend, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, time to take a break here on the Sports Cage. Yeah. Going to be a great game tomorrow. Oh, by the way, tomorrow, the 620 CKRM Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network has countdown to kickoff starting at 2 o'clock. The Rider pregame show goes at 4, and Dave and Luke will have the call. Alouettes Riders kickoff goes at 5. This is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. It's the final weekend of regular season action in the Western Canadian Baseball League. Tonight, the Regina Red Sox are taking on the Saskatoon Berries. First pitch, 7 o'clock at Curry Field. Tomorrow night, Sunday, Monday, then all done. Then it's into the playoffs. And if you go to the Red Sox website, they actually have a special deal for kids. When you buy an adult ticket for tonight's game, you're going to get a discount there. And it's a real nice night for baseball in Regina. In the majors, the Toronto Blue Jays host the Kansas City Royals. 3.5 games up on the Yankees. And with the trade deadline yesterday, at first glance, when I saw this come across my phone on Twitter, they traded for Justin Bieber. No, it's not just. It is a Bieber, but it's not a Justin. And there's no chance you're going to see him any next little while. He's on an injury rehab assignment, which I was reading today may kick in another 30 days. But the Jays are trying to do what they can to get ready for this playoff push. Oh, Jays fans. Are you ready for the heartache and pain in case it all doesn't work? Optimism is high. They've let us down in the past. 92 and 93 was a long time ago. Are we ready for this? Because it may not be pretty. CFL tonight, Toronto's in Winnipeg. Chris Streveler gets the start for the Bombers. Air quality warnings at an 8, apparently. They're monitoring it. Kickoff should be 6:30-ish our time if the game does go at the start time. Tomorrow, Hamilton in Edmonton and the Riders in Montreal. Kickoff goes at 5. And this breaking news from the NFL, Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys has requested a trade. Coming up on the Sports Cage, after the top of the hour, Matt Young from CTV will join us and Farhan Lalji from TSN. Stick around. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Tomorrow is the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Game Day. The Riders are in Montreal to take on the Alouettes. The Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network kicks in tomorrow at 2 with the Rider pregame show. Dave and Luke will have the call just after 5. Speaking of Dave Thomas, that is, voice of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, will join us here on the Sports Cage in 1 hour's time. It's Maz back in from vacation, hosting for Barney today. I think Barney's off somewhere with his family. Spent the past couple of weeks in Hawaii with 15 family members. A lot of family. As some people on the text line have said, one family member is too much to take on vacation. Sometimes immediate family is enough. You, the wife and kids, you don't always agree on everything. Even what drive-through to go to can cause sometimes heartache and pain. And then there's tears. And then there's apologizing in the back seat. Remember when we didn't talk about our feelings? The best way to sum up Hawaii, everybody, I'm going to use a couple of wrestling references here. Everybody has a Roman Reigns tattoo. And Curtis, maybe you can pull this up. A picture of Roman Reigns. I hate to put you on the spot. Everybody has a Roman Reigns tribal tattoo, guy or girl. It doesn't matter. Everybody has a Jey Uso haircut. He's another wrestler, which is basically a mullet, guy or girl. And there's a lot of man buns there. A lot of dudes in man buns, whether it's surfers, baristas, you name it. I fall into none of those categories. Really sticking out like a sore thumb. Charleston Hughes doesn't think that the Riders can run on the Montreal Alouettes tomorrow. Not with Kadeem Carey out and only AJ Lett. No disrespect to Mario Anderson, who's the backup. Charleston had a ton of stuff to say in hour one in his interview. Let's see. Hurries are participation trophies in the CFL, and he doesn't believe in them. Sacks are the only things that count as a defender. Cody Fajardo is a good guy, and that Edmonton's going to rally around him. They're going to get better. And Charleston Hughes is going to SeaWorld next week on his family vacation, and he may end up riding one of the animals, like Shamu the whale. And he's going to send video if it happens. I think he gets arrested and banned before he does like a ride that goes viral. If you've missed any of the SportsCage Hour 1, you can get your podcast on demand, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, including sportscage.com. All right, let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline here and bring in this gentleman. He's Matt Young from CTV, and if you follow him on socials, he's the guy that always puts up the seating maps. So tomorrow night, we'll know how many tickets are taken or not taken for that. You see it with the Rider games. You see it up. Welcome to the Sports Cage, Matt Young. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be here. And by the way, SeaWorld does sound interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever ride a whale myself, but good to be here. And, contrary to popular belief, we may get into this later. No, I don't sit there and just count little blue dots all day long. I mean, I have a life. It's not glamorous, but it's a little bit better than that. But it's a fun little thing that I enjoy doing. And of course, it's CTV doing classic sports and all of that and covering the Hilltops and Huskies. So it's busy, but it's fun. And yeah, absolutely. We'll keep updating you with the ticket counts, not just in Regina, but really across the CFL. And it's just a fun little thing. I enjoy doing it.
I'm always curious when someone finds a niche, especially on social media, and that becomes one of their things, and then people come to depend on the content. When did you get this idea, or what brought you to going, I'm going to start doing this? What spurred this originally?
Yeah, certainly. So it actually started about 2 or 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. I actually noticed another guy online that was kind of doing the same thing, only he was doing it with other stuff. So there was a guy that was doing it with just concerts, and then there was another guy that was doing it. He does it for just wrestling shows, and some he would actually take requests. So I thought, I wonder if there's a way you could take that and parlay it into sports and maybe do some CFL. Because when I go to Blades games in Saskatoon here, or Pat's games in Regina, or Saskatchewan Rough Riders games, I'm like a lot of people. I wonder what the crowd is going to be like. So I kind of did a little research. I have a little bit of a computer science background. It's not great, but if you follow some of the video game stuff I like to put out, I do a lot of modding there. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could find a way to sort of emulate that somehow, only do it in Canada for CFL or maybe NHL and even WHL and stuff like that. So I put on the old computer coding hat, which is not as big as most guys, but it was enough to sort of find a way to do this. And I use sort of a unique kind of hybrid program that kind of counts a lot of that stuff within just a couple of minutes. And when I saw it, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And I started putting some stuff out there, and I had a lot of people message me back, and they're like, hey, that's great. How many tickets have been sold for the Blades games? I mean, what's the attendance looking like for the Pats? And then I had a couple of people say, hey, can you do the KISS concert that's coming up, in 3 weeks? Can you do this event that's coming up? And so I thought, yeah, and I kind of refined it and tuned it and started doing Rider games. And over the past year and a half, I started doing, some NHL games, Winnipeg Jets during the playoffs and stuff like that. And so it's just kind of it's a fun little hobby. And I think I do it because, one, a lot of people like it. I like to put out good content and serve the public that way. And also, it really just gets people talking about sports. I mean, you'd be surprised what attendance means in the world of fan fodder when it comes to sports, not just in Saskatchewan, but really across the country. So, you know what? I've had a few people reach out and give me some requests. Can you do the Winnipeg Jets game coming up? Can you do this game? And if I have time, I'll certainly try and do that. So I'm a big Rider fan, follow the Riders. I love the CFL. I follow all the teams. And it's never to put a sort of a negative slant on anybody's attendance. I know everybody's talking about Winnipeg right now. So every time I put out the Winnipeg numbers, the Rider guys all sort of chime in. And now you got sort of that friendly little who's the better fan base. But it's really just to spark conversation and get people talking about football and sports. And if we find new ways to get people in seats and enjoying the product and enjoying their time, whether it be at Mosaic Stadium or Princess Auto Stadium or some other place, I think that's a good thing. So I find it really, really fun, and I'm glad a lot of people enjoy it.
Matt Young from CTV joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. The 6-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the 5-2 Montreal Alouettes tomorrow. What do you make of this Rider team, and what are you expecting tomorrow in Montreal, which is typically a hard place to play? We haven't won there since 2021.
Yeah, it is a hard place to play. And I always say that, when it comes to home field advantage in the CFL, a lot of times for many years, the Riders obviously do well at home. And then you have the Montreal Alouettes, and it's a lot of travel, a couple of time zones, and then you got to get back for your home game the week after. That Montreal Alouettes team is a good team, and I expect this game to be close. I've predicted a 25-24 score. I think that both teams have good defenses. Certainly, the Riders' defense has kept them in all the games that even in that game against Calgary, their defense played really, really well and kept them in it for most of that game. So I think the key is the winner of this game is going to be pretty mistake-free football. Getting rid of the penalties, not having some untimely miscues or things like that. That can really sink a team real fast, especially when you got two teams that are battling for first place in each of their respective divisions. So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. The Riders usually only play Montreal once or twice a season, right? So they don't get out there to Quebec too often. It's always a great atmosphere out there. The stadium, it's got that quaint sort of charm to it. So I think this is going to be a good matchup. I think if Trevor Harris and the Riders can move the offense well enough that they can keep their defense at least off the field for a chunk of that game, they could beat Montreal on the other side. If Montreal obviously can do the opposite, they can beat the Riders. But I think this is going to be a good game, and I'm excited for it.
You're the voice of the Saskatoon Hilltops, and last year the Regina Thunder slayed the Dragon and beat the Hilltops in the PJFL final. How excited are you? Because now that it's the August long weekend and the season is upcoming, in your opinion, has junior football in this province ever been better as far as a talent and a competition level?
Oh, man, it is so incredible. And I'm a guy who watched junior football going way back to the days when it was the Regina Rams playing at the old Taylor Field. I grew up in Regina, and my dad would take me to games. And then I moved to Saskatoon many, many years ago and got involved with the Hilltops. And junior football, especially in Saskatchewan, but in other places too, the competitive level, I don't think has ever been higher. You're seeing more and more guys get a look at some CFL camps. A couple of Hilltops last year went to some CFL camps, went to the Rider camp and that. And the pipeline there is really, really getting. It's really cooking, is what I like to say. So they're both the Regina Thunder and the Saskatoon Hilltops. Whenever they get together, that game is always fun, and it's always fun to call because it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to that final minute. And you're right. Last year, the Regina Thunder, they put on a masterful defensive performance in that final game against the Saskatoon Hilltops. Scott McCauley is fantastic. He knows exactly what he's doing. Used to coach yours truly back at Balfour High many, many years ago. We won't get into that. But him and Tom Sargent have a lot of respect for each other. And they're both great coaches. And those are two programs that are really organized. They're well run. season, and that's why they're always at the top of the PFC every year. But I'm excited. The Hilltops, I know, are definitely excited. I talked to Tom Sargent about that, put an article out today on it. He said he's still motivated, and he remembers that loss last year. And of course, it's always a seesaw battle between those two teams who can win the conference championship. But absolutely, I'm gearing up, and I think the city is gearing up, and I think people are getting really, really excited.
Matt, we know you got to go, so we appreciate your time. On the Hilltop thing, they're not used to losing. All right. When you see, I'll still call it Gordie Howe Bowl, all of those championships. So would you say for them, because of the way it ended last year, that this season there's some unfinished business because they were expected to win it all last year?
Yeah, 100%. You know what? The Hilltops always say there's nothing worse than losing to Regina. I'm sure it's the same in Regina. And there's nothing worse than losing at home, right? That game was at SMF Field for a reason, because the Hilltops wanted that playoff game against the Regina Thunder to be on home turf, and they didn't win it. And talking to Tom Sargent yesterday, his exact words is, "It's burning like a fire." And I think a lot of people on that Hilltops team, absolutely, they respect the Thunder for the good defensive performance that they put on and beating the Saskatoon Hilltops. I think there's a lot of players on that team, you know, returning guys like Corbin Evan. You got Jonathan Stevens, who went to Rider Camp earlier this year. He's going to be back for the Hilltops. No doubt that experience of Rider Camp, he'll bring that back to Hilltops training camp this year, and his presence will be big on defense. They got Charles Sawi, who's back, had a 112-yard missed field goal return for a touchdown in a playoff game last year. This team is excited, and no doubt that game coming up against the Regina Thunder, when they play them twice. They play them once in Saskatoon, once in Regina. Those games are circled, and if there's a team they want to face in the PFC final, the Regina Thunder is that team, and I'm willing to bet it's for Regina. I think the Thunder, if there's one team they want to face for a conference championship, it's the Saskatoon Hilltops. And hey, I would have it any other way. I think it's going to be an exciting season, and I'm super pumped.
All right. Matt, so throw out a social handle if people want to follow you like I do, and you can start getting the good stuff.
100%, absolutely. So you can follow me at Matt Young CTV. I tweet out all the classic sports that we do each week. Classic sports moments on the CTV network there and on our website. In fact, we got some really cool rider stuff that's coming up. Just a couple of weeks ago, I posted some Don Matthews mic'd up footage from 1992. Ooh. Like, this is the kind of stuff we find in our archive room. It's really, really cool. So you can follow me there. And of course, we'll keep doing the ticket maps, classic sports coming up each week. And I encourage everybody in Regina, come up to Saskatoon for a Hilltop game when they face the Regina Thunder. And I encourage everybody in Saskatoon, head down to Regina when the Hilltops play the Thunder, because those two fan bases, they're always rowdy, and it's fun, and it makes it fun for me up in the booth and the players, and I'm excited. So it's going to be an upcoming season, and it's great to be on with you guys.
Matt, thanks for this. Have a great long weekend. Let's do this again in a little bit. That's Matt Young from CTV in Saskatoon. If you follow him on socials, you'll find out just exactly. I think there was his last post, 1,000-ish tickets for tomorrow in Montreal. I'm assuming by game time, it's going to be a sellout. Hey, and don't forget, when the Riders play, get the KFC Game Day special, the Big Crunch for only $4.95. It's funny when a price like that, that's like pre-COVID, pre-inflation pricing. When you can get a chicken sandwich for $4.95. I was at a sub place the other day, and it was $14 for a sub now. It's crazy. So the Big Crunch for $4.95 and the Big Crunch combo for $7.95 at participating locations. All right, time to take a break here on the Sports Cage. Still to come, it's a busy show. Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, will join us from Montreal. They landed earlier this afternoon. Depth charts are out. Sam Emilus is now on the 6-game injured list. Next man up. Everybody's going to have to step up. There's actually a lot of changes. I think there were 6 or 7 from last week's roster, but Emilus would be the biggest name. So how do they fill that role? Because he's gone for a long time. No Labor Day Classic for Sam Emilus. And it's funny, I saw the other day, I was on Twitter, somebody put out a picture of a Joe at Colts training camp. And some people are like, no, he'll be sticking around for at least all of the preseason unless something drastically happens. So it's going to be, who do we have? And who do we think can step up and go from there? We'll get Dave's thoughts. And coming up in just a couple of minutes, Farhan Lalji. He's been on tour some of the NFL training camps. Speaking of the NFL, Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys requesting a trade today. We'll see if he's got any more insight on that. And Hamilton, Edmonton tomorrow. It's a big CFL doubleheader. Game 1. Those Ticats traveling all the way across the country again to take on the Elks. He's coming up in just a couple of minutes. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports, 620 CKRM. Final weekend of action in the Western Canadian Baseball League tonight. The Regina Red Sox will take on the Saskatoon Berries. The Berries are the class of the league. 7 o'clock first pitch at Curry Field. Season will wrap on Monday, and then it's the playoffs for the Sox. Major League Baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays hosting the Kansas City Royals. First pitch goes at around 5:07. In the CFL, Toronto is in Winnipeg tonight. There is an air quality watch on right now. Some of the texters on the text line, 306-936-6262, Quality Rentals. Prairie Land Rentals. Let's see. They're saying it's about an 8. Kickoff should be 6:30 if the game starts on time. Here's hoping that it does. Chris Strevler getting the start for the Bombers. Tomorrow Hamilton in Edmonton to take on the Elks. It's game 1 of a CFL doubleheader. That'll kick off at 1, and then the Riders in Montreal. Kickoff there goes at 5. It's Maz in for Barney today hosting the Sports Cage. It's going to be another hot, sweaty night at the Queen City X. I don't know if you could ask for better weather for when the exhibition rolls into town down at the Real District. Let's see. On last night, they had the Rec Laws. I really like them. I only discovered the Rec Laws. They've been around for a while. About a year ago, I started putting them on my Spotify playlist. Tonight on the main stage, presented by our sister station, 104.9 The Wolf, The Glorious Sons. I know one of their songs. They're a pretty good band. Pretty good Canadian band. If you're headed down, Curtis, I'm going to say, I probably don't need to tell you, if you're going to see The Glorious Sons, you're probably only wearing a muscle shirt. You're not wearing much else because it's hot. And if you're going to be in the pit at the front of the stage, you're going to be leaking early. By the end of song 1, you're probably going to be just like drenched like you've run a marathon.
Yeah, it'll definitely be toasty, that's for sure. And you're gonna be shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, it'll be fun, but yeah, maybe
Oof.
bring the shorts. Don't bring the long jeans or anything like that. Yeah.
Any exhibition anywhere is great for people watching, and I find that in especially an outdoor festival, fair, exhibition, whatever you want to call it, and warm weather like this, if you have tattoos. This is your Super Bowl. This is your time to shine. Whether it's creeping all the way up into your temple, down your neck, and wherever else, you're out there. Just here it is. It's sometimes that is just worth the price of admission. Tomorrow night, Sam Roberts Band, also presented by the Wolf. I know of Sam Roberts, not a fan. A lot of people love him. I know I heard Barney and Sharky talking about how awesome Blue Rodeo was the other night. That's obviously the old people band that they brought in. Barney and Sharky reliving the early 90s. Like there's no tomorrow, partying like it's 1995. But when you wake up, it's 2025. And you don't recover as fast, right? And then yesterday they were going off about the guy on the Himalaya, which was the best ride. And I will agree with them 100%. They had the best music. And they did have that guy. He was like the wrangler. He always had a lit cigarette dangling from his mouth, rounding up people, bringing them in, and going from there. And I think they were talking about the Gravitron. I saw online today, someone's trying to sell a Gravitron on Facebook Marketplace somewhere in the States for $70,000. Does Sports Cage have budget for that? All right, we do this every week. Let's talk to Farhan Lalji from TSN.
It's time to get the inside story. TSN's Farhan Lalji on Sports Cage is brought to you by the Cooperators. Time to get financially fit? Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
Farhan, there's a million things to talk about, but let's start in the NFL. About an hour before the show, I saw on Twitter that Micah Parsons has requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. Is this rumor? A lot of his fellow teammates are supporting him. Does Micah really want out of Jerry World? Is it all done for the Cowboys and the season hasn't even started?
Well, I don't think it's done yet. And you know, I was there when this whole thing began in the early stages of Cowboys camp. I got there the day after Jerry Jones talked and was there for the day that Micah Parsons talked. And You can tell he was getting pretty annoyed and irritated at this. This isn't new, right? This began a year ago, and if you're Jerry Jones, you could have got this done for last year for $35 million a year. Now the starting price is going to be 41, given what the marketplace is for the best defensive player in the league, right? Or somebody who could certainly make that claim. And when Jones says his name wrong, Michael Parson or whatever he called him, and he just refuses to engage with his agent. I think there's a bit of wariness from everybody, right? You saw the CD Lamb comments saying that, it's every year we're going through this drama, pay the man what he deserves. And I think they all feel that way, right? CD said that the day we were there as well, that he supports him. He thinks he should get paid. And, the fact that he's there speaks volumes. So I think he's tired of it. Do I think it's going to get resolved? And do I think it's going to get done? Yep. And I think this was the next lever that Parsons needed to play. And hopefully they're not dumb enough to let him walk away. They say they're not going to trade him. They've got club control for a while, because it's not just you can let him play under the terms of his final year of his contract now. You could franchise him later. So, he doesn't have leverage from that standpoint. But when you make comments like this about wanting to be traded, and if you choose not to play, see where it goes.
Especially since the Cowboys are in the NFC East, and they don't have a talent-rich roster like the Eagles. Although the Eagles lost some players in free agency, if you lose a Micah Parsons, really, what do you have left on that Dallas defense?
Yeah, not much at all. And Stephon Diggs or Trayvon Diggs is not going to be available for the start of the season, right? Because he's still dealing with recovery from an injury. And you needed Micah Parsons. You had questions in other spots throughout that defense. So he was the one game changer there, and it's just going to put so much more pressure on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and now George Pickens is there to kind of balance out the receiving core. But this was a roster that had holes to begin with, and now you potentially put this in play because, when we were there, it was clear that Parsons didn't even want to hold in, let alone hold out, right? Like, they were talking about back tightness as to why he wasn't doing team drills yet, but it seemed pretty legitimate. He had said that when he was healthy, he was going to practice. Now, I think all bets are off, right? He hasn't practiced yet, and even when the tightness gets resolved, I can't imagine that he will, given where this has gone. But yeah, look, I would imagine more players and more agents are going to start putting pressure on Jerry Jones to get this done.
We're a week into NFL training camp. Last night, the Hall of Fame game, Canton, Ohio. Chargers beat the Lions 34-7. Wasn't close. And NFL preseason, it's so hard to get a read on who's doing what. But Trey Lance went 13 for 20, threw a couple of touchdowns. Do you think, now keep in mind, Justin Herbert is the starter unless something drastically happens and he's hurt. But for Trey Lance, do you need to keep showing that, yes, I'm still that guy that everybody thought of when I got drafted really high?
Yeah, you've got to stay in the conversation because I think this is his last chance, right? Like next stop CFL potentially, because it's been a minute now, right? Who knows if he would come to the CFL, but I'm just talking about in terms of running out of chances in the NFL because this isn't his first rodeo now, right? He's on team at least 3. And when I was at camp, he was inaccurate regularly, just like he was last year when I saw him at training camp, inaccurate regularly. So now he's competing with Taylor Heineke for the backup job, right? And, Lance still has a ceiling. And, whether or not he ever realizes that in Dallas or whether or not he can put himself in a good position to go somewhere else and maybe get a Sam Darnold situation or a Mac Jones situation or what have you. And even in Dallas, Dak Prescott's got a history of injuries, right? So, if you can get ahead of Taylor Heineke and get into that number 2 job, that's a huge step for him right now. And that was the best I've seen him look in any NFL opportunity, regular season, preseason, or practice. I haven't seen him look that good before.
In your opinion, is Harbaugh the right guy to be coaching Justin Herbert at this stage in his career?
Yes and no. Now, look, I'm not a big Jim Harbaugh guy, right? I wane with the Rain Man routine going back to when he was in San Francisco. And, I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy. However, he does have the ability to change a culture, right? And I think that is an important thing. But I don't think he's surrounded Justin Herbert with the right pieces to be overly successful. That interior offensive line was one of the worst in football last year. They still have 2 pieces there that are big question marks for them. For the second straight year, he's revamped the entire running back room. We'll see what they do with Hampton, the rookie first-round draft pick, and then Najee Harris there as well. We'll see if it's significantly better than pieces his coaching staff had familiarity previously in Baltimore. But Ladd McConkey's a really good receiver, and then what? I'm not buying Quentin Johnson. And then, you lose a key piece along your defensive line last year. Now you've got to replace some pieces. So when you're Jim Harbaugh and you come back, you get to be heavily involved in roster construction, which a lot of head coaches have now. And I just don't know that he's done a good enough job building the roster to support Justin Herbert. Now, he's an empowering coach, right? People that played for him at Michigan and elsewhere have talked about that. And even last year, talking to Josh Palmer about the impact that he had, like he has the ability to empower, but you better build the roster. Otherwise, the rest of the act kind of wears thin a little bit. So we'll see.
You mentioned Najee Harris, former Pittsburgh Steeler. And right now in Pittsburgh, everybody is saying all the right things. Everybody's getting along. Aaron Rodgers loves where he's at. It's if I'm looking for personal enlightenment, Farhan, all I do is I turn on the NFL Network and just get the report from Steelers camp. What about week 4 or 5 if the Steelers are 1-4? Is it going to be the same situation where everybody's so in love with each other?
No, not at all. All right. Like it'll fingers will start getting pointed. Right. And, I think the culture under Mike Tomlin, which was so important there, has waned a little bit in the last couple of years. Right. And then, they move on from George Pickens and, it hasn't been as clean as it was before. And just the fact that he would allow the situation to take place the way he did with Aaron Rodgers to when he finally got signed after so much drama and attention that was pissing off players, pissing off people in the community. So I think if they struggle early and the quarterback position struggles early, I think we're going to be right back where we were, right? And I'm not a big Russell Wilson guy, but I don't think he was terrible for this team last year, right? No. So when people talk about Aaron Rodgers getting back to peak Aaron Rodgers, I want to see if he can do what Russell Wilson did last year, which again wasn't amazing, but it was a lot better than what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers as a Jet. So, and that roster is limited. I think DK Metcalf is a limited player. Watched him closely throughout his time in Seattle. He's a guy that physically looks like a freak, but he rarely takes over games. And then he'll do things like take 15-yard penalties and things like that Mike Tomlin's not going to want to put up with. So, and there aren't a lot of weapons besides him on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't know that they're set up offensively to do great things. The defense is really good there, but I'm not sure the offense is going to keep its end of the bargain.
I just got back from vacation and we were in Hawaii. The number one team driving around, whether you're driving a 1995 Toyota Corolla or a 2025 Infiniti sport utility vehicle, a lot of people love the Raiders, and they will put those decals everywhere. I know that it's a resurgent, and they brought in Pete Carroll. Is there any hope for Raider fans that this thing gets turned around and they win more than 7 games?
7 is kind of where I'm at with them, and that's an improvement based on where they've been.
Yeah.
But the thought that this team is going to compete in the playoffs in this division, right? And when we were talking about the Chargers and Justin Herbert, right? The Chiefs aren't going anywhere. And, I know they won a lot of close games last year, but their offense is going to take a significant step forward again with the healthy receivers and things like that. Like, they're not going to be, if you think they're going to fall off, they're not. And the Broncos are totally headed in the right direction. I am buying the Broncos, especially with that defense. So it's going to be really hard. I think the Chargers are going to be a clear third, and I think the Raiders are again going to be a fourth. So can they get to 7 wins in that division? You talk about holes on a roster. Right. Again, questions along the offensive line. They're going to have Ashton Genty, who I think is going to be a really good player. Brock Bowers, I love him at tight end. And then what? And defensively, you got Max Crosby. Then what? Right? Like, there are holes. So I get that Pete Carroll is Mr. Positivity and he can get the most out of that group, but you got to squeeze a lot of juice out of a very small orange if you're going to make some really tasty orange juice right there in Vegas. I think that roster, of all the teams we've talked about in this segment, I think that roster is the worst.
Have you had to make any predictions? We'll wrap on this. Have you had to make any predictions? Who do you think your NFC team is in the Super Bowl this year? Is it the Eagles?
It's a good question. It's all going to come down to the health of Christian McCaffrey, if he can stay healthy all year. And they're being really careful with him, right? Now the 49ers have lost a lot of pieces, especially on the defensive side of the ball at all 3 levels of that defense, right? So, Bosa's going to need some help. Warner's going to need some help. Lenore in the secondary is going to need some help. but Christian McCaffrey can make a lot of things right for that team. So if he can play 17 games, and look, he hasn't done that, right, very often. And I think 3 of his 8 seasons, he's had less than 7, including last year. But I think they can make some noise in that division. I still think the AFC is significantly better. And then Washington, right? I mean, I don't want to be quick to write off Detroit, but they did lose both coordinators and they've lost some key pieces. So we'll see if they can take the next step. I really do believe Washington can. Really tough division. But, they won the Super Bowl in Philly. Jalen Hurts is only going to get better. Didn't lose pieces offensively. So I'm still going to take Philly to get back there.
Big play VA. Vernon Adams did not play last night for the Calgary Stampeders, and they're a different football team without him. The Ottawa Red Blacks capitalized on an opportunity. Ottawa's problems are not solved. Red Blacks fans, you won 31-11. It just goes to show, Farhan, without a starting quarterback in this league or any league, it's tough. Nothing against PJ Walker, but it was tough last night.
It was. 3 interceptions, not good enough. Other misses on would-be touchdowns. And then, the guys didn't necessarily help him, right? Dom Rhymes with a couple of drops. There were others as well.
Yep.
I know they were missing some other pieces of the receiving core. But, look, I get that that PJ Walker's had some pedigree, but it's a different game, right? And you don't just walk in and kill it when you're trying to figure out that 12th man. He hadn't looked comfortable, in his game last week. He didn't look comfortable in the preseason necessarily. So it's going to take some time, but at the end of the day, I don't know that he's going to get the time because I think VA is going to be back next week. But they were so close on so many plays that I just have to believe if Vernon Adams played that game yesterday, Calgary winds up winning without a doubt. And, and backup quarterback's an issue everywhere. And when you look at Calgary's situation, you feel good about it at the start that, hey, we got a guy like PJ Walker. This is a pretty good deal, but it's going to take some time across the board. I think Hamilton's got the best backup quarterback in the league in Taylor Powell. I really do. I think Sask probably second with Jake Mayer, who's serviceable as a game manager. But after that, every other team should be freaked out at the thought of losing their starting quarterback. It's a tough place to be right now.
The Riders win last week. We beat the Elks by 3 points. And now in Rider Nation, we're so confident we complain about winning by only 3 points. I want to ask you, I saw a little bit of a spark with that Elks team with Cody at quarterback. There were some elements there that you didn't see when you had Trey Ford. There was a little more continuity. There was a little bit, and you could see it. Did you see some things as well that would lead you to believe that the Elks can get a little better if Fajardo stays the starter?
Yeah, for sure, right? He will put that team farther ahead this year than Trey Ford will. And I think there's a bigger belief in that locker room with Cody Fajardo at the helm. The receivers know that, look, the ball's going to come where it needs to, on time. Defenders, even in practice, know that, the ball's not going to get there late. We've got to have a bit more sense of urgency. His preparation level, his experience, I think all of it matters. I think the room believes more. Now, look, there's a lot of holes on that team, right? I think in terms of receiving core, I think they've got the least dynamic receiving core in the league. They're not committed to running the football, right? Jordan McSimic needs to be more committed. The offensive line needs to be better. And defensively, they're not getting enough out of that high-priced defensive line, right? So there's a lot of areas on that team that need to improve. You can't just hang it on the quarterback, but Cody Fajardo in the short term absolutely makes them better. And you saw it last game, right? I mean, with no running game, he still managed 350 passing yards and kept his team in it.
Last week, I thought, I'm going to buy Hamilton Ticats stock if they can go into BC, and BC usually plays well at home, and win on the road. Because Hamilton's won at home, they play in the East, there's all of that. But for them to be a contender, and the way that they ended up winning that game, to me, I'm like, all right, I think the Ticats are for real. Because if anything, the Ticats have been plagued with inconsistency. I'm sure Scott Milanovich would be the first one to say that. Were you impressed with what you saw to Hamilton last week to actually pull it together to get the win?
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt. And I do think they're for real, right? Scott Milanovich has gotten Bo Levi Mitchell playing the best football of his career. I'm in Edmonton right now. I'm going to do play-by-play for the game tomorrow against with Hamilton and the Elks. And as I go through my rosters, the one thing I see a ton of is continuity, right? Like we talk about Kenny Lawler, but when you look at this roster, I think there's maybe 3 changes on either side of the ball. And they're just more comfortable playing together. Whereas you look at Edmonton and it's like everybody's in their first year with the Elks. When you look at Hamilton, these guys are comfortable now. So Brent Monson's doing some good work on the defensive side of the ball. He's simplified some things, but again, you've got 5 out of 6 defensive backs that are back from last year, and they're more comfortable just playing with one another. And some of the guys that are new have played together in previous stops under Brent Monson, so they're comfortable with the system. They're maximizing their pass rush. They play from ahead, right, which is a great way to live because you know, you don't have to deal with running. You don't have to deal with rushing attacks when you do that. You know, it just kind of controls what you see on both sides of the ball. So, you know, when Bo was in Calgary on a regular basis, like, he was told where to go with the ball. He got the ball out of his hands extremely quickly. Here, watching him navigate the offense and make reads down the field and then eventually check it down to his underneath option, you know, that wasn't stuff he had to do before. So he's being asked to do things that are much more difficult right now, and he's doing it at a really, really high level. So, and when you looked at what BC did last week, where they just committed everything to Kenny Lawler, and then other guys like Keandre Smith and Tim White beat them, right? So they've got some depth in places that we didn't know they had it.
6-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders in Montreal tomorrow to take on the 5-2 Alouettes, and it's the return of Sean Lemon. There's no shortage of storylines. Noel Thorpe, to me, because he's been doing it for so long, for so many years, the best defensive coordinator in the league. If you're Noel Thorpe, what are you doing to attack the Riders? Because the Riders at times have been able to score at will. Not necessarily in the fourth quarter of games, but in the first 3.
Yeah, there's no doubt, right? And Trevor Harris, another guy at an advanced age that's playing the best football of his career, right? I'm picking the Riders in this game, you know, just because I think they've got a sizable quarterback advantage. Montreal's still dealing with injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Lemon will give them a boost for sure, but, you know, McLeod Bethel-Thompson's going to have to kind of go toe-to-toe. Now, I think the other thing that's probably underplayed is that they're not going to be able to play Sam Emilus this week, right? He's banged up again. And I think that takes something away from the receiving corps. It's unfortunate that they've got Sean Bain ready to go, but they're not going to play him because of ratio reasons, right? So, you know, that's going to take away a little bit, right? Because Noel Thorpe likes to pressure, and Trevor Harris is great at recognizing. He's great at getting the ball out of his hands early and going and attacking that pressure with pressure. So I think Trevor gives him a best chance, but I think his receiving corps is a little bit depleted, having to go with, you know, Tommy Neal over a guy like Sam Emilus.
Farhan Lalji from TSN. Who's your color partner tomorrow? If you are doing the Ticat Elk game, who's your color guy tomorrow?
It's Lapo and I, and we're going to totally like coach geek out, right? Because when we do that, it's constant analysis. So I'm going to try to make sure we stay in storytelling mode because, you know, he's the worst for me. I love Lapo, but because he's a coach, I'm going to have to pull it back. Normally I dip into the other side whenever I get play-by-play games. I'm not going to do that with Lapo.
Last question, and then we'll let you go because we're running out of time. Is Luke Wilson part of your broadcast tomorrow? Will he be blowing up your game or our game tomorrow in Montreal?
I think he's doing tonight's game. Luke is generally a part of Friday Night Football, so tomorrow's Saturday's game. So we'll probably get our Luke fix tonight. And I'm a fan. I know people in Saskatchewan aren't. I get the biggest criticisms about Luke Wilson from the people of Saskatchewan, but Luke loves the league and the people in it more than you probably realize.
All right. Have a great night and a great call tomorrow. We'll be excited as a CFL doubleheader. That's one of the best things about this long weekend. There's 2 games tomorrow, the pregame and then the real game from a Rider fan point of view. Farhan Lalji, as always, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next week. All right. Time to take our final break this hour here on the Sports Cage. Don't worry. You haven't missed it. Dave Thomas from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, voice of the Riders, coming up just after 5:00 from Montreal. We'll let him set the stage. And you heard Farhan mention that Sam Emilus, not playing this week, not going to be playing for a while. He's on the 6-game injured list. We'll get more on that in a bit. We are the home of Saskatchewan Roughriders. This is 620 CKRM. Not a lot going on in the world of hockey, and I know a lot of people were quite upset. The Four Nations Cup roster, when it was announced and all of that. And what about the young guys, the Macklin Celebrinis and the Connor Bedards? And a lot of people are like, listen, they're going to get their time. Today's clutch performer is Connor Bedard, one of 92 players invited to the Canada national team orientation camp. So it's funny when you go through and you see It's a pretty good long list of who potentially could be playing on the 2026 Olympic team. What is there going to be, 22, 23 spots? But Connor Bedard, our clutch performer today, could be on his way to wearing Canada's silks for hopefully Olympic gold in 2026. That's your clutch performer for Nick's service. All right, it's time to take a break. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to connect with Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Montreal. Is he in the minibar in his hotel room? Does his hotel room have a minibar? Has he found any of those annoying noisemakers that are technically not allowed tomorrow at the stadium when the Riders will take on the Alouettes in a first-place CFL showdown, 6-1 against 5-2? We'll dive into that next. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. As we head into the long weekend, we just want to say thanks for being part of the Sports Cage. It's hour number 3. Maz in for Barney today. We've had a busy show. In hour 1, Charleston Hughes joined us. Some of the texters, Prairie Land Rentals text line, is he serious about trying to ride Shamu at SeaWorld? We don't know. He said, normally Charleston's a man of his word. He's going on vacation next week, taking the family to SeaWorld in San Antonio. I didn't even think they have Shamu anywhere, or a version of Shamu. The world has changed. He also said that he doesn't think that the Riders are going to be able to run on the Alouettes tomorrow because they don't have the Kadeem Carey, AJ Ouellette 1-2 punch. If it's just Ouellette, that may not be enough. No disrespect to Mario Anderson. That's what he's thinking about the game tomorrow when it comes to Alouettes and the Riders. Matt Young from CTV joined us. If you follow Matt on socials, he's the guy that always posting the seating maps. Like, I guess there's about 1,000-ish tickets left for tomorrow night's game. And then Farhan Lalji was also with us last hour. Just did the tour of NFL training camps. He was in Dallas last week when the Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons thing started. Well, it's been going on for a year, he said, started. But if you missed it, the big news out of the NFL today, Micah Parsons has requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. More on that as the show continues, but let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Let's bring him in, voice of the Riders. And I'm not sure if this interview is going to be bilingual, but he's in Montreal. Dave Thomas, bonjour, monsieur.
You know what? I could try. I pretended that I was going to be bilingual, but I still have no idea what I ordered for lunch. So that probably wouldn't be best for anyone. My high school French has let me down severely.
Dave, if you're attacking the Weyburn public school system and their inability to educate you in a foreign language, you thought the text line was busy before this. Imagine now, administrators. Dave, it's funny. Last week, we're Rider Nation. We're a finicky bunch, right? We're 6-1. We win. But last week, it was only by 3 and it wasn't enough. All right. This is where we're at in week 9 of the CFL. There's so many things going right for us. We had to find something wrong. Total different story this week. 6-1 Riders, 5-2 Montreal Alouettes up against, to me, and I want to get your thoughts if you have a differing opinion. Is Noel Thorpe the best defensive coordinator in the CFL?
I think pretty highly of the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensive coordinator, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
He was the guy that won. And again, that's not a stock answer, right? Like, again, he has gone ahead and made teams one-faceted each and every time, each and every week since he has arrived in Saskatchewan. Teams cannot run the ball against him. The only team that did was Edmonton a year ago to the day almost. But aside from that, nobody's been able to chug the ball on the ground. And if you can make your opponent one-dimensional, then you're well ahead of the game. But Noel Thorpe, you got to give him a ton of credit because the resume speaks for itself. I don't know how he hasn't got a shot as a head coach in the league, whether he has wanted it or not, I don't know. But yeah, you look at the numbers and the consistency with the Montreal Alouettes defense, and there's one constant behind it. That's Noel Thorpe.
What do you think the game plan that the Alouettes will try and come out with against the Riders and Trevor Harris?
Well, for Trevor Harris and the Alouettes, I think are going to try to do kind of what Edmonton did, and more so what Calgary did to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that was make them one-dimensional. AJ Ouellette is going to have to be productive and run the football tomorrow if the Riders want to have success against the Montreal defense. Now, yes, Montreal is banged up a little bit on both sides of the ball, But if you look at it in the sheer numbers with Montreal and their defense, they come in, and again, they've been able to stop basically everyone on the run. The only team that's got a better run defense is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and they've got the number 3 pass defense. And then you look up the horses that they got front. I heard you were talking about Sean Lemon earlier with Charleston Hughes, and we don't know what he's going to be, but he's just going to be another piece that's added to that very formidable defensive line. So I think that the Alouettes have to make the Rough Riders want to throw the ball, which again, pick your poison. And I think that's the poison that they're going to go for. The one number that jumped off the page to me this week when doing the research is there's a lot of things that can happen in 2.14 seconds. Well, on average, and again, that's getting on average because it'll happen quicker than 2.14 seconds. Trevor Harris releases the football when he's throwing it. So pretty hard to get to the quarterback if you're getting rid of it on average 2.14 seconds. So that's going to be clear as day to me whether or not the Saskatchewan Roughriders can run the football to allow Trevor Harris a little more time than the 2.14 seconds that he averages to get rid of it.
Trevor Harris will be without one of his weapons. The big news out of Riderville today, Sam Emilus added to the 6-game injured list. Forget production on the field. What he brings as a player and locker room wise, that's a big piece missing from the Rider roster.
Well, a big piece, a big Canadian piece, but also a guy that is pretty formidable when it comes to the run game. The blocks that he sets up for his running backs and the backfield, again, that's tremendous to speak that he's a 1,000-yard receiver 2 times over, right? Samuel Emilus is a big blow, for sure he is. And, such an unlucky play near the end of that football game against the Edmonton Elks when he was tackled down low. And I did hear the commentary from fans that were at Mosaic Stadium taking in practice this week. Was he a defenseless receiver or not? And that's a pretty good question when you go ahead and you reevaluate the play as a whole. It was a wide receiver screen that was thrown to the flat. The Edmonton defender got there, bang, bang. And did Emilus have an opportunity to brace himself for the hit? I don't know what the answer is. But yeah, he's going to be on the 6th game. But what I find really interesting is that, okay, so Joe Robustelli, Dante Myers, and Keyshawn Johnson, those are the 3 American receivers that'll start. Then Del Duncan Busby will be 1 Canadian and Tommy Neal the other. But if you went and looked at this receiving core coming into this football game, where are you going to take out an American? Because Sean Bain Jr. is getting really, really close to a return. And those guys you can't. And then as far as the Canadian receivers go, I'm really excited to see Tommy Neal. I loved the way that he played with the Toronto Argonauts as a fan. And now having an opportunity to see his work ethic in camp and, of course, through practice thus far this season. It's unfortunate that he was banged up at the end of camp, but I think it's an exciting prospect injecting him into the lineup.
Well, as they say, and it's been used again and again and again, next man up, if that's Tommy Neal. Maybe Mitch Picton's back on the roster. Maybe that means that Mitch gets more targets and does. It's funny. All Picton does is deliver. Anytime that they throw, all he does is produce results. So maybe it's going to be somebody's time to shine. But with Sam Emilus going on the 6-game injured list, it's unfortunate, especially when the Riders go into Montreal. We had Charleston Hughes on in hour number 1, and he had said that he thinks that the Riders, like you had said, tough time running against with just AJ Ouellette and not Kadeem Carey. No disrespect to Mario Anderson, but it's not the same when you can have that effective 1-2 punch. And then on the flip side of things, you have Jason Moss, who I thought last week, McLeod Bethel Thompson, who doesn't come off the bench well, but when he has a week to prepare, looks pretty good. Last week, Calgary looked pretty good. But I think Jason Moss called a really good game for him, and I expect more of the same, those not conservative plays, but the high percentage stuff to let the athletes run and make plays like the long handoffs and the screens and the quick hitters and stuff. Is that what you're thinking as well from a Moss game plan?
That's what I would attack if I was Jason Moss. But the interesting thing is, okay, so Travis Tice, he's a rookie out of South Dakota. He will get the brunt of the carries, but again, he's been battling injury and nicked up a little bit. So behind him is Sean Thomas Erlington as far as the running game goes. And you look statistically, the Montreal Alouettes don't really like handing the ball off all that much, considering their averaging the 6th most rushing yards per game at about 95 yards a game. So if I'm Jason Moss, I do want that running game to get going. Can Travis Tice do it? We'll have to wait and see. But then when it comes to McLeod Bethel-Thompson, look at the receivers he's without. Yeah, it's a big blow missing Samuel Emelis, but you don't have Philpott and company in Montreal. You're going to have Alexander Hollins, who was cut by the Edmonton Elks out of training camp. He'll be making his first start as a Montreal Alouette tomorrow night. Then you've got Sibasu, who I like. He's a young receiver. As far as being around as a starter, he's had 6 years of CFL experience. It'll be interesting to see what he brings. You've got a raw rookie and Hadeem Harris on the one side, Charleston Rambo on the other, and then Tyler Sneed, who's kind of been Mr. Everything. When the Alouettes couldn't find a returner, Sneed went back and did it. The 3-year pro has got some good numbers. We'll have to see whether or not they can lend the support to McLeod Bethel-Thompson, as they're going to be in tough against a pretty tough Saskatchewan Roughrider secondary.
One of the things that impressed me last week with Montreal taking on the Stamps is Montreal just hung around, and were able to do enough. And that was on the road. Not that McMahon Stadium is the hardest place to play fan-wise, because it always looks like there's 8,000 people at a game at McMahon Stadium these days. But I thought, pretty good. You're missing your starting quarterback and you came on the road and you were just able to do enough. Now you're back home in Montreal. You should technically have all the advantages and the prep and the extra week. And there's something about Danny Machocha and the way that these guys construct a roster. They just seem to find guys. Like, I didn't realize if Austin Mack isn't playing, who's the next one that Danny Machocha's found? Because he always seems to find them. That's the frustrating part about the Alouettes, is they somehow just reload with obviously guys we've never heard of, but when they do make their mark, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
It's scary that we're thinking the same, because I'm on the exact same page as you when it comes to Hakeem Harris for the Montreal Alouettes. Mm-hmm. Again, rookie receiver, he's going to get more of an opportunity this week for sure, and I'm really curious what that opportunity is going to lead to. And you're right, the Montreal Alouettes, it's interesting to try to see and figure out how they're coming in. They've won 2 games in a row, but those last 2 games, they've led the game for a total of 6 minutes and 58 seconds. So they haven't been running away with football games, and they've been piecing and cobbling together victories, which may sound a little bit like the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who were 6-1. So I'm bang on with you. I think the other thing to consider that is just human nature at its finest is that the Saskatchewan Roughriders get their second bye of the season after this week, right? And you go back to the school analogy. Remember when you were back in school, and I wasn't doing well in high school French, apparently? But remember when you're writing those exams, right? The pressure is on that you have to perform when the spotlight comes on, but you know what's ahead when it comes to that summer vacation. And that's exactly what the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I think, are staring down the barrel at right now. And they've got a lot of leadership that will talk about it, I'm sure, with some of the younger guys, but there's not a lot of those younger guys that are kicking around. But again, put that into context and think that a lot of the players, this is going to be the last substantial break that they really get until the end of the season. They'll get another bye week in September, but it's not the same, because in September, the playoffs are in sight. You're starting to jostle for playoff positioning and maybe understand what the playoffs may or may not look like for your team. So I think that this is going to be the ultimate break for the Saskatchewan Roughriders coming up, but it doesn't happen until after tomorrow night's game.
Sean Lemon said he's done talking about it. His suspension, or as Charleston Hughes said, allegedly gambling on CFL games. I guess we're still playing that. We're still not admitted. I hope that tomorrow, just after the first, it's just there, and he's just another player, and this can just be done with. I think that for everything that's gone on with all of this, it's been a long year and a half hearing about Sean Lemon. Just go back to being a football player. Let's just play the game.
Well, and again, I don't know Sean personally, so I can't comment on any of that. The Saskatchewan Roughrider coaching staff definitely do know Sean Lemon very, very well. They say that he's a stand-up individual, and who am I to contradict that? But there is one exception to who he will talk to, and that's coming up with us tomorrow. Oh. He is agreed to join us tomorrow on the pregame show, so he will break the silence, talk about the whole gambling suspension, the indefinite suspension, how it went down. Additionally, he's going to go ahead and he'll talk a little bit about the PED suspension, which he has now served, and coming back to play here in Montreal. So we're fortunate enough that he's agreed to come on with us tomorrow during the countdown to kickoff.
I forgot about the PED thing. Yeah. There's a lot.
That was the kick him when he's down penalty.
As the kids would say, there's probably a lot to unpack there. I just want to get your thoughts on some other stuff. Last week, Toronto looked so good beating Winnipeg. And if you're Ryan Dinwiddie, you're probably tearing out your hair going, where has this been all season? They looked at ease. Now, keep in mind the weather conditions in Toronto in that rain, but Winnipeg is looking very average and very beatable when they've lost. When they've won, they've looked good. But you could say that about any team. Tonight's the rematch in Winnipeg. I expect, although it's Chris Streveler and the Bombers, are you expecting a better effort out of Winnipeg?
I don't think it was an effort issue with Winnipeg. It was an execution issue for sure. And sometimes you can beat yourself before you even go out, and knowing that Zach Collaros is nicked up and not going to play, that can really go ahead and weigh on a team, right? Especially if you're concerned about his well-being, which everyone is, right? So, yeah, there were execution problems definitely in Winnipeg, and I thought that game fed right into the hands of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because they were playing on the old crappy grass that got torn out right after the game. They were in the midst of a rainstorm, which all to me leads to advantage offense and advantage running game, but Brady Oliveira just couldn't get turning, and maybe that's just a testament to the Toronto Argonauts, who were in a little bit of a desperation mode last week, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens this week. And I'm really, really curious when it comes to the CFL schedule, because this is the third time this season that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have played back-to-backs. They did it with BC earlier, then they went back-to-back with Calgary, now back-to-back with Toronto. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but definitely something that they've had to handle here the last couple of weeks.
Hamilton earned my respect last week going into BC and winning that game, because Hamilton, they always get off to a bit of a rough start. They play in the East, and Charleston says it's participation trophies out there, basically until the Grey Cup, and then the East always wins. But going in and winning in BC against the Lions and how they did that, Hamilton's legit. They're a good football team, well coached. Bo Levi Mitchell. Tomorrow in Edmonton, you can't take anybody lightly, but if Hamilton does what they have been doing lately, I don't see why they don't beat the Elks tomorrow at home or on the road in Edmonton.
Well, first of all, credit where credit is due, number one, to the Hamilton Ticats for winning that game in BC last week, and maybe credit to the BC Lions as well, because a missed offside call, I thought, cost them the game, because Nathan Rourke and the offense went 2-0, which allowed Hamilton to get the football back, and very clearly on that second down play, there was an offside against the Tiger Cats that went uncalled. And if that gets called, it's an automatic first down for BC. You bleed another 60 seconds off the clock, likely it's game over. Not wanting to take anything away from Hamilton, you got to give them credit for sticking to it. You take away Kenny Lawler, well, that's fine. We'll go and throw it to Keandre Smith. No problems. We're fine. We're good. So Hamilton has got some fight back, which I don't think that they've had thus far. It's going to be real interesting in Edmonton tomorrow, because the Elks, they are now up against it, right? They have to go ahead and start winning football games to salvage their season. And what I like with the defense of the Hamilton Ticats is that they can disguise quite a bit. And I'm not saying that you're going to fool Cody Fajardo, because I don't believe that at all. But maybe you fool some of the receivers right now, because he didn't get a lot of help with guys getting open last week. And yeah, when you're shredded for 8 sacks, and yeah, okay, maybe he should have thrown the football away, as Charleston alluded to it a little bit, or maybe it was you, whomever alluded to it. What I'm saying is that there's still 8 sacks given up by the Edmonton Elks. They ran the ball 5 times for 29 yards. So they obviously know that they have to be more balanced. And Cody Fajardo told us before the game that he was going to run plays during the football game that he didn't have an opportunity to practice. Like, he didn't get a live rep in practice because he was behind Trey Ford the entire time, and they installed plays when they were split in practice time that he didn't get a chance to run. So to me, that was remarkable and incredible, and I guess we're going to find out tomorrow what the Edmonton Elks really are, because I think that all the chips go into the middle of the table for the Edmonton Elks, who know they've got to get a win at home against a tough Hamilton team.
You mentioned desperation in Edmonton. Last night, I thought the Red Blacks, it was a desperation game. And they caught the Stampeders at the absolute right time. All of the injuries on offense, including Vernon Adams. And you saw the drop-off. PJ Walker's not Vernon Adams. Ottawa wins 31-11. I think they did what they needed to do, but I don't think the Red Blacks' problems are solved. Because I think if VA plays that game, it's totally different. A total different Stampeder team who you could tell they were trying, but it just wasn't there. But if I'm a Red Black fan, I'm a little encouraged, but nowhere near out of the woods.
Well, and if I'm an Ottawa Red Blacks fan, number one, I applaud my defense for making the plays that presented themselves, right? PJ Walker, you go ahead and you play the opposition that you face, and that was PJ Walker for the Calgary Stampeders last night. So, yes, I applaud the defensive effort by the Ottawa Red Blacks, which I think allowed the offense to get on track. But this Ottawa Red Black team is such a night and day difference when they've got Drew Brown at quarterback. Right, Drew Brown comes in, throws for 400 yards against the Saskatchewan Roughriders in week 1, and then is banged up and misses a couple of more. Then he takes that nasty contact to the helmet, and he's out again. So Drew Brown and his health is paramount. And if I'm the Ottawa Red Blacks, I'm not going to kid you. I'm really watching this game with the Saskatchewan Roughriders closely tomorrow, because I want to see what McLeod Bethel Thompson perhaps is all about. Now, I'm not saying that Montreal in any way, shape, or form are thinking about moving on from McLeod Bethel Thompson in terms of a trade. But if there was a move to be made, I think that there's a lot of people that would look at McLeod Bethel Thompson as maybe being somebody that the Montreal Alouettes might think about, just with Caleb Evans and James Morgan, who's behind Caleb. And James Morgan, the Alouettes are really, really high on. So I look at going into this season with the Ottawa Red Blacks and not having found a lot of depth at the quarterback position, and they still don't have it. And again, nothing against Drew Brown. He's got to stay on the field. And if he does stay on the field, the Ottawa Red Blacks are going to be successful and really pose a challenge. But if Drew Brown gets nicked up again, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the nation's capital.
It's funny you bring up the trade scenario, because if the Saskatchewan Roughriders have the best or in the top 2 best backup quarterback in the league, that's a pretty interesting chip. Now, if you're Geno Lewis, and we heard all the offseason stuff and signs in Ottawa, but here you are, you're 2-6. You know, money and all that, but do you want to win? You know, trade chips like that, big play receivers. And if he's staring down the fact of there may be no playoffs, it's interesting, because if the Red Black season is potentially salvageable, and I don't know if it is, but it is the East. You just got to be better than the Argos, right? Because I think Hamilton will kind of stay where they are. Montreal, I can't see them cratering. So you just kind of got to be better than Toronto.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Go across the league, right? And rank the quarterback rooms. And don't stop at 2. Go down to 3, go down to 4. And I'm with you. Like, it's pretty hard to dispute the Saskatchewan Roughriders' depth at the quarterback position with Harris, Mayer. Then you've got Tommy Stevens and Jack Cohn.
Jack Cohn. So eventually, you're one of these 4. You're going to lose part of this room eventually. Not everybody's going to stick around because it's going to be opportunity or money or all of this. And now that we're in play and you don't have a Sam Amelis for 6 games, you've got this, and there's not a ton of trades in the CFL, which is a little, I've always found interesting in a sports league. But it's just food for thought. Dave, is it hard to believe that it's already week 9 of the CFL season? Or does it seem like it's week 9 of the CFL season?
No, it's gone by quick. Absolutely. And again, we've talked about it ad nauseum, and you can't dispute it. The schedule for the Saskatchewan Roughriders has played out so nicely. Like they've been in tough. Like they haven't had an easy schedule. But boy, as it has worked out so well for the Roughriders. Again, they've only had a couple of short weeks that they've had to prepare for. One was week number 1, and then of course the last one was their last game. So really, they haven't had to go and prepare for a ton of short weeks. They've had good rest, and they're spaced out the bye weeks terrifically. So you even look at, okay, yeah, Samuel Emelis is on the 6-game injured list. That's not great. But you know what? The team is actually starting to get a little bit healthier, if you can believe it. The offensive line is going to have 2 new starters, not because of injury, but because of healthy, if that's a word. So, again, the schedule has done the Rough Riders favors. Does it seem like we're nearing the halfway point of the season? Absolutely not, but I think we're right on target for how it feels.
Can you ask Malik Carney how he, in the middle of summer in Saskatchewan, can wear a balaclava? Because he'll probably be wearing it tomorrow in Montreal, and I assume it's going to be muggy. How can you play a football game with that on your head and not be just dying, sucking wind?
You're not the only one asking that question, because Coach Mace continually gives it to Micah Johnson and Mike Rose. The 2 guys always wear sweatpants at practice, 30 plus or whatever. They're going out in sweatpants, and it's just baffling to me. But yeah, I don't know how they do it, but it's working, so don't change it.
I saw him after one of the sacks last week on the sideline. He took his helmet off, and I'm like, how are you wearing? Oh, man. Sometimes just watching the game on TV, at times listening on the radio, you can be breaking out in a sweat if you're in the car or the truck, and you're like, how can those guys be playing a high-impact sport? You mentioned Coach Mace. Dave, we'll let you get ready for the call. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Dave actually had a chance to chat with Coach Mace earlier this afternoon. As the team got ready and doing their press thing in Montreal. Don't forget, when the Riders play, get the Game Day KFC Game Day Special, the Big Crunch for $4.95 and the Big Crunch Combo for just $7.95 at participating KFC locations. And the 620 CQM Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network has countdown to kickoff tomorrow starting at 2. The Rider pregame show goes at 4, and David Luke will have the call, Alouettes and Riders, at 5, right here on the home of Rider Nation, 620 CKRM. Final weekend of action in the Western Canadian Baseball League. The Regina Red Sox will take on the first place Saskatoon Berries tonight. 7 o'clock first pitch at Curry Field. Blue Jays taking on the Kansas City Royals. No score in the first inning. And in the CFL tonight, Toronto is in Winnipeg to take on the Bombers. There's an air quality thing happening, but we think the game is going to start on time at around 6:30 tomorrow. It's a CFL doubleheader. Hamilton is in Edmonton to take on the Elks. And then Game 2, Riders in Montreal. Kickoff goes at 5. And speaking of the Riders, Dave Thomas had a chance to catch up with head coach Corey Mace earlier this afternoon in Montreal.
Well, Coach, here in Montreal, there's been a lot of talk about finish, but obviously you've got to get a start before you can worry about a finish. What does your team need to do to go ahead in all 3 phases to get that upper leg?
Yeah, I think just as you said, the start is crucial for us. Really the middle phases, I think we have been pretty decent as a football team, but certainly we see what we look like when we do get off to a fast start. And then ultimately as a team, that last piece we're looking to finish. So a quick start certainly won't hurt anybody for the good guys. Continue to do, I think, what we do throughout the middle sections of the game. And then ultimately in the fourth quarter, we gotta end up closing out a team, specifically, a team like Montreal who's been successful for a while here.
2 questions about consistency. First of all, on the offensive line, you've been anything but consistent with the personnel you can roll out, but I would argue that the consistency has been there in the performance. How have you seen it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't talk highly enough about that group and that room and what they've been able to do, and the coaching they've been getting from Big Ed over there. Man, whoever's number has been called, they've been able to answer the bell, and certainly having a guy back there like Trev and running backs back there running hard for him, it makes them want to work hard for each other. So they've been incredible. And again, just a little shuffle of the deck this week, but guys who have played football for this team and played winning football for this team. So ultimately, we trust everybody that's out there and able to get the job done.
Last week, you consistently were able to go ahead and get 4-man pressure and get a lot of it on the Edmonton Elks. How can you consistently do that week over week?
Well, yeah, it's just really just jumping into the fine details of, obviously from a coverage aspect to getting the quarterback to hold the ball for a little bit longer. And then just winning your one-on-one matchups up front. Obviously they're going to have 5, 6, maybe 7 guys blocking 4 at sometimes. And you got to win fast on your one-on-ones to go ahead and penetrate and disrupt the quarterback's timing. So if it's sacks again this week, we'll certainly take it. But if it's pressure that turns into turnovers or however it shakes out from a defensive standpoint, as long as we find ways to keep them out of the end zone and give us the ball back, we're all for it.
McLeod Bethel Thompson, you know him well. He knows you well. Anybody have an advantage?
No, I think it's 50-50, just hoping it's more 51 Riders, 49 Montreal.
For fans that are watching at home, they get just annoyed the heck out of by those air horns. Do you hear them on the sideline? Does it affect anything? And they're supposed to be banned.
Yeah. I got to tell you guys, maybe unpopular opinion here. I mean, I'm a fan of it. That's their thing. For us, we've got many more people screaming and yelling. Every team has their advantages. That's theirs. I kind of like it. Maybe I don't like watching it, from TV. It's kind of annoying, but during game day, anything goes, man. Noise is noise.
Lastly, closing our conversation with finish. We talked about it at the start. How do you coach a team to finish?
Yeah, I think it's just, again, hammering home, pushing the fine details of getting their job done all the way to the last whistle, not getting complacent with anything when you're comfortable. And then when things aren't so comfortable, being able to push through and having trust and faith in each other and conviction to do your own job and the man next to you doing the same all the way through to get us out of a jam if need be. So ultimately, they know what it is. It's the same recipe as we want to kind of ignore the score and just be the best damn player at our job every single play.
Coach, appreciate it. Here's to going 1-0 this week.
Let's go.
We had champagne problems last week against the Elks. And what I mean by that is we won, but only by 3. And we had 8 sacks. We had all of this. It may be a complete different story tomorrow in Montreal. And I think this is what I think a lot of us, after week 4, we're 4-0. How are we going to stack up against the best teams in the league? We didn't know it at the time, but the Stamps, they came to town. They ran the show. They did exactly what they needed to do. And does that mean that the book is out on how to beat the Riders? And will Montreal employ that same playbook tomorrow? Noel Thorpe is good. Not only good at his job, he's good at adapting from week to week. Riders and Alouettes tomorrow. The 620 CKRM Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network has countdown to kickoff starting tomorrow at 2. Rider pregame show at 4. Hey, listen, if you're going to be traveling tomorrow for the long weekend, have us on. Don't forget that Rider app or the CKRM app. You can take us anywhere you go. And Dave and Luke will have the call. Alouettes and Riders kickoff at 5. Right here on the home of Rider Nation, 620 CKRM. Head into this long weekend. Programming note, because of the holiday on Monday, there will be no SportsCage. We'll return to live action on Tuesday. Myself and Barney. Are you headed to the Queen City X tonight? And if you are, do you go man bun and muscle shirt at the Glorious Sons this evening if you're going to be front of the stage with 104.9 The Wolf as the presenting sponsor?
Yeah. Why not go to the Queen City X? It's fun. There's only so many concerts and stuff that are in town, so that'll be cool.
I would love to know. I remember the old days when a corn dog used to be about $2. I can only imagine in 2025 what a corn dog's going for these days. It doesn't taste any better. The quality isn't any better. It's just inflation. I'm going to try and watch Happy Gilmore 2. I've tried to watch it twice, and I've had to shut it down each time. Once because of family issues. The other, I just couldn't get into it. Here's the only thing I'm running into. People online, stop trying to review Happy Gilmore 2 like it's an Academy Award nominated movie. It's the sequel to Happy Gilmore 1, a fun, dumb Adam Sandler movie where he fights Bob Barker from The Price is Right. Don't try and make it out to any more than it's going to be. Stop.
Yeah, you're not doing You're not doing a lot of critical thinking listening to an Adam Sandler movie. You're just there to turn your brain off and be entertained. That's for sure.
Exactly. So if you're considering, maybe you already filmed an Instagram reel this afternoon and you're about to hit post of Happy Gilmore 2 and why it just isn't the movie that's...
Just stop. Don't.
Let's just get into some crazy... I don't know. Lately, my whole... what do they call that? Algorithm? is a place called Crispy Pizza in New York City. Just watching them make pizza. That's what I've been into. Hey, thanks to everybody that's joined the show today. Charleston Hughes, Dave Thomas, Matt Young, and Farhan Lalji. If you missed any of the show, you can get it in podcast form on demand, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, or we've got them all for you right in one spot. SportsCage.com. And don't forget to sign up for the daily newsletter where you'll get the breaking sports news in your inbox every day. It's at SportsCage.com. Time to take our final break on the show. When we come back, Prairie Golf Gems. Time to take a trip to the Melville Golf and Country Club. We'll do that next. It's the Sports Cage right here on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
Welcome back to the all-new Sports Cage. The guys can take a break. It's Barney here with you, and the segment that we started this year, and we are getting pretty good feedback on it. Thanks to everyone who's mentioned and sent us messages on different golf courses that we should look at in Prairie Golf Gems for Flooring Superstore in Regina. Trent Dickin and his team, over 20 years in business. If you have any sort of claim, insurance claim, and your contractor is saying, I got a buddy, I got a guy, I got a carpet guy, just go pick it out. No, you can go wherever you want, and Flooring Superstore, the local store in Regina, helping all of southern Saskatchewan, wants to help you. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, their cash and carry prices can't be beat. This week on Prairie Golf Gems, we are looking at the Melville Golf and Country Club. That's right, in Melville. It's been around since 1950. If anyone's driven through Melville, you see it on the side of the road there. I had a chance to catch up with Hank Shannon from the Melville Golf and Country Club. It sounds unreal. If you're out there listening and you played it, sorry, I've never played it. I am going to play it before snow flies. Like I said, it dates back to 1950. It is 18 holes. And I know this, and a few other people have told me about it. The greens there are unreal for a small town public golf course. 6,063 yards from the back tips, as they say. Some tournaments, if you go online, they got a great website, golfmelville.ca. So this week on Prairie Golf Gems for Flooring Superstore, it's the Melville Golf and Country Club. Hank Shannon from the Melville Golf Course is joining us. Hank, I've never played the course. There's been a number that I haven't. I want to get out there. The one thing that jumped out at me, it is 18 holes out there in Melville. So when you describe the course to people, how do you paint the picture? How do you describe it? How do you sell the course?
Well, it's first of all, I think the wonderful, wonderful thing that makes this so special is it's very, very scenic. The view of the course really reaches out. We're known for the very, very high quality of our greens. They play like professional standard greens. It's really beautiful, and I think that's the biggest thing. Our superintendent has an incredible reputation. He cares very much, and the course is in magnificent shape. I feel, and I think the team around us feels, that it is a municipal course, but it plays so much better and harder, and it's more beautiful than that tag, and it's great.
When you talk about those greens, what are we looking at the Poana, a little bit on the small side, but just really in good shape, those kind of greens?
Yes, very much so. They are turtle greens. It is challenging, and when you play the course, you look at it and you go, well, I feel that somebody who is a very high quality or low cap golfer would go and play, I'm going to light this up, but the presentation of the greens and the way they play make it a lot more difficult. And what I do like about it is they're very, very consistent. They're very fast, and I think it takes on people love to play it a second time just to get a better handle of how they do play.
That seems to be a reoccurring trend in Saskatchewan is the small kind of turtleback greens that are consistent and somewhat tough to play. Now, on the Melville course, are we going to find a lot of water and a lot of sand?
Not so much sand, I would say. There is more water on the front, mostly creek-based, and the back is a lot more friendly to play. I would mention that there is a front and back tee-off option, so for those that are less experienced, they can play off the back Monday to Friday, and then the weekend it's the full 18. So it does give you that option. I will tell you that the front does play a little bit more challenging, and there you have it.
What would be the signature hole or holes if you were going to let people know?
The funny thing is I'm not a local to Melville, so this is where our viewers could read. I love that question because, again, the signature hole for me would probably be you stumped the chump there, but I personally love number 6. Some folks will say number 10 is very, very beautiful, but our viewers are people who listen to us might have issue with that. Number 2 is another hole. So it's a beautiful course. It's very scenic. So that's a really good question.
What about events? If people are thinking about obviously hosting events, maybe it is getting late in the season, but I'm sure you can accommodate. And then events that anybody can kind of take part in. Any ones you want to showcase?
We have 22 tournaments this summer, and most of them are very, very local-based. What I love about the events that myself, the team, Carson, that we host, is they are mostly charities that really try and make a difference in the community. Everything from benefit to the Shriners Hospital to the Big Hole Tournament, which is actually a big hole tournament that's happening this coming Monday, August 4th, goes to benefit the Melville train station, the refurbishment of that property. We have a palliative care event that we had at the beginning called the Sisters back in early July, and I'm really apologizing if I'm missing out on anybody, but those are just a few examples of really making a difference in the community, and that's why the tournaments here are so fun to do.
Is it an easy course to walk?
Yes, very easy to walk. In fact, we have a large group of diehard members. Carts are always, it increases the pace of play, but we have a 10-minute interval at tee off, and I think that's very, very golfer friendly. So you can take a cart, but you're more than welcome to walk the course. And a lot of our members and people who play here do.
Hank Shannon from the Melville Golf Course is joining us on Prairie Golf Gems this week. Now, I thought it was a misprint. I thought I was on the wrong website. When I went to the website and it says 18 holes, if you want to walk for an adult, is only $47.
Now, I wasn't going to pump the tires on the cost, but I would challenge anybody in the province to go and drive around, and it is incredibly reasonably priced. Everything from our concessions on the food to the alcoholic beverages to our carts. The community really, we are very, very hugely supported by our board of directors to keep things very, very reasonable. The average person walking off the street, it's got to be cost friendly, and we want them to have a great time. And I would say that for the cost, this course punches very, 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 very high above its weight.
I love it. I think so. Just from looking online and seeing those prices hang, I would definitely agree. A guy that golfs quite a bit. Now, you kind of briefed through it too. You do have restaurant. It's licensed and all that. So obviously, when people get there, they get the full experience.
We take great pride in selling local products. Our craft breweries from Saskatchewan, our vodka providers. We really, this is, very, very proud of the Prairies and our affiliation with that and the community. We have all the major brands. Sandwiches are fresh, ready to go every single day. And and for our tournaments, we can do anything that you want. It's wide open.
I can't believe I've never played this golf course. That's the problem that I'm dealing with right now. What would be it? Is safe to say weekends and around holidays are the busiest time? What's it like during the week if people want to drive out? Because Melville isn't that far from a lot of the big centers or smaller centers. When's a good time? How should people book?
I think the best way to book is always go and book online. If you're having some trouble navigating the site or if there's any concerns, you can always call the clubhouse. We'd be happy to get you in. I would love to tell you that the course is always running at capacity. There are times that it's full. It's very, very popular. This summer we've had explosive growth at the after 3 and 4 o'clock. Our men's nights, and just like every other club, we do have men's and ladies' nights, and those are full and very, very popular. But more often than not, with 2 or 3 days' notice, we can get you on anytime. Holidays, weekends, we'll find a way to get you out.
I'm going to find a way to get there before the snow flies, Hank. I totally appreciate you taking some time and doing this, and you did a wonderful job of painting the picture of the Melville Golf and Country Club.
Thank you very much. It's awesome. I feel honored, and it's great, and I can't wait to see the piece. Don't hesitate. Come out, though, and tell all your friends, too.
That's it. Like I said, golfmelville.ca is the website. You can go on there, check it out, do your bookings, or if you just want to call, the numbers on there. Hank Shannon, a great job. You can feel the enthusiasm that he has, and I'm sure the course is a reflection of that too. Also, Carson Dennis, the greenskeeper there, does a fantastic job. I want to see these greens. The little turtleback greens are always challenging. I love it. Prairie Golf Gems, don't forget, let us know if there's a course that we should showcase out there. 936-6262, Prairie Land Rentals text line. You can email us as well through the show. You can find us online, and we'll try and do that. It is brought to you by Flooring Superstores, the local store that likes to do this sort of stuff. Cash and carry prices can't be beat. Trent Dickin and his staff, anything flooring, whether it's carpet, laminate, hardwood, they can do it all. They can help you with that, especially if you got an insurance claim. They've been in business for over 20 years. Flooring Superstores in Regina. It is the Sports Cage. We are streaming at sportscage.com and always on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.